Hello, welcome to Gunfighter Life, the podcast where we talk about gunfighting the right way with Judeo-Christian values and real-world first-hand experience. As always, I'm your host, Michael Melito. First and foremost, I am a Christian, a servant of God, a follower of Jesus Christ. That is number one in everything that I do, and this podcast is no different. Blessed be the Lord my rock, who trains my hands for war and my fingers for battle. A quick bio, not the pre-recorded one. I'm sure I'll leave some stuff out, but Marine Corps combat veteran a few times over. Also served in the U.S. Army, both full-time and part-time. Urban warfare instructor for the Marine Corps, FBI certified firearms instructor. Prior LAPD, worked regular assignments and more specialized assignments. Been blessed to be a state rifle and pistol champion. Hunted ever since I was young. Been a professional big game hunter and guide. And a lot of other things, but that's enough for now. Again, first and foremost, I'm a Christian. With that, we'll get into today's topic. Just a few guns I think worthy of mentioning. I guess, I don't know if underrated is the right word, but they kind of fly under the radar as far as they take a far back seat from the Glocks and a bunch of the other guns. The number one I'm going to mention, and these are in no particular order, is the IWI Masada, Israeli weapon industries, commonly known for the Tavor, probably the Desert Eagle would be in there, some of those guns, but they make just your standard, what I would consider run-of-the-mill polymer, striker-fired handgun in the IWI Masada. I think it's a good gun. It's ergonomic, it's probably every bit as good as a lot of other guns out there. So if you're looking for a polymer striker-fire handgun and you've looked at a bunch of others and you haven't looked at this one, maybe give it a look. It also comes, I think, in OD green and probably flat dark earth for that matter, but I know it comes in OD green because I've seen them. It's a cool gun, and I think it's worth mentioning. The next one, and it seems like everybody comes out with polymer striker-fired handguns. I really can't keep up with them. There's so many, and I work in the industry. Didn't mention in the bio, but I manage a firearms and training company. But even with that, I can't stay on top of it. But the Walther PDP, if you're looking for a good ergonomic handgun, it looks big and chunky, but when you pick it up, it's a lot lighter than it looks. It's the Walther PDP. It comes cut for an optic, and it's got a pretty good optics mounting system from what I've seen. And I do believe if you get a hold of them when you buy the gun, they'll send you a free optics plate, which a lot of other companies don't. But that is the Walther PDP. I don't know what it stands for. I wasn't real keen on it, but the more I handled it, the more I played with it, it's probably up there in the top picks for polymer striker-fired handguns. And again, there are so many, but I think that one's worth mentioning. Walther is a company that makes a lot of good guns, and I don't get nearly the press that a lot of other companies do. But the Walther PDP, I think, is a good gun. It comes in a 4.5 inch and a 5 inch, and it probably comes in probably a 4 inch or somewhere thereabouts. They come in a couple of different sizes. But it's a good polymer striker-fired handgun. Whether you want it more compact or more full size, it's a good gun, at least from my experience. And I don't own one, but I know guys that have run them and bought them, and they seem to be a good gun. Another one, Canik, made in Turkey. You might think at first they're like some cheap knockoff gun, but Canik's, from what I understand, the company started out in the aerospace industry like a lot of other gun companies have in Turkey, and a lot of fine guns are made in Turkey. Some of the Weatherbys, I believe, are made in Turkey. The Caniks, for what you get for the money, whether it's because of labor costs or whatever, Caniks a lot of times will come with a holster with a bunch of optics plates, not just one if you want to mount an optic, with different back straps, with tools for the gun. They come with a lot. You get a lot for the money. And I've seen quite a few people run the Caniks. In fact, we have one on a rental wall that gets rented quite a bit. It's probably one of the most commonly rented guns. And I don't have the stats to back that up in front of me, but it gets rented a lot. And we've had SIGs break, and we've had other things break, and we have never, to my knowledge, had the Canik break. I mean, it gets ridden hard and put away wet. At least put away very dirty. And it has run fine, and we have had no issues with it. They make a lot of different guns. They make like subcompact versions. They make bigger versions. They make a couple of different models, but are all very similar. I believe all loosely based on the Smith & Wesson 99 or the Walther 99. But they're a good gun, and I kind of wanted to not like them at first just because they seem like a cheap knockoff from Turkey. But I got nothing against Turkey, and they make good guns, and this, I think, is one of them. So it's worth mentioning. If you want a good American-made gun, I think it's worth mentioning the Ruger Security 9. And this is a polymer gun, like all the other ones we talked about. That's like, whether I like it or not, that's the way the industry is going. But you may think this is a polymer striker-fired gun, but it's actually a polymer, from what I understand, single-action gun. And like a lot of single-action guns, it has a really good trigger. And it's the Ruger Security 9. And it's what I would call a compact-ish, between the compact and full-size if you want to carry a gun that big. It's a good gun. I like the design. I have taken it apart. I have messed with them. And it has a good trigger. A lot better trigger than a lot of polymer striker-fired guns. Because from what I understand, like I said, it's actually a single-action gun. And it's American-made, and it's affordable. And that's kind of Ruger's niche, is making decent guns that are affordable. And it's American-made, it's decent, it's affordable. And I think a lot of people, look at guns and like a Springfield and think that it's American-made, when the Springfield handguns are not American-made. They're made in Croatia, when you could get a Ruger that is American-made, good quality handgun. So I think that one is worth mentioning. So just a quick episode, I think, on guns worth mentioning. Hope you liked it. Hope you found it informative. Just a couple of guns I don't think get the attention that they probably should, when a lot of other guns get a lot more attention. Again, I'm not sponsored by anybody. I don't get any kickbacks or anything like from any gun companies or anything. I'm just giving you honest opinion from what I've seen. Not everything, has to be a Glock 19 or a SIG 320. So I figured I'd give these ones a shout out. With that, men, I want to say thanks for listening to Gunfighter Life. Tactical tip of the day, I think I've talked about before using obnoxiously bright colored nail polish, as in fingernail polish, to paint gun sights. Here's another one that may work equally well or better in some circumstances. It's the puff paint, it is what they use for painting like shirts, like painting like a name or something on a shirt. It's called puff paint. I don't know how to describe it other than it's kind of like foam paint. You can get it, again, bright, obnoxiously colored orange or yellow. And if you have sights that are like indented with those little white dots and you want a different color than white, or you want something to stick out a little bit more, that puff paint, it usually comes in a little applicator too to put little precise dots. You can put that little dot in that little hollow thing if the dot fell out, or again, you just want a different color, and then just take a Q-tip and wipe it off the outside of the sight, and you get a nice, crisp, clear, bright colored dot. And then, in addition to that, I don't like 3-dot sights. If you do, that's fine, but I think that most people that run a gun practically and fast would prefer just a bright dot in the front and a black rear. You probably don't need me to tell you this, but for a black rear, literally just take a Sharpie and color the back sight. A paint marker if you want that's black, but literally just take a black Sharpie and color in the dots in the back of the sight if it's got 3-dot sights. You want a bright, in my opinion, I'm not telling you that everybody's got to shoot like me. I'm not that arrogant. But a bright, crisp, standout front sight if you're shooting with iron sights, and then a black rear. That's your tactical tip of the day. Remember, more important than all the gear is God. You could win 100 gunfights. You could survive whatever scenario. One day, we're all going to bow a knee, and we're all going to stand before the judgment seat. Your relationship with God is more important than your relationship with your gun or with your kit or anything like that. Tactical verse of the day, the beginning of Psalm 24. The earth is the Lord's and everything in it. Everything belongs to the Lord. Whatever He may have given you stewardship of, whatever you have, don't forget the giver. You exist because God made you. You have only what God allows you to have and what God gives you. Remember that. Keep the right perspective. With that, men, thanks for listening and have a blessed day.